It's definitely advisable. And remember, if you are in the process under this government program,
Yes.
all foreclosure activity has to be stayed, okay, until you get to a point where either the loan modification is denied or you just decide, I'm going to, you know,
It's not going to happen.
it's not going to happen. And then that's where you can go through probably one of the last programs, which is the Home Affordable Foreclosure Alternative. When you know you can't afford to be in the home, and they can't modify the loan for whatever reason, maybe you can't demonstrate an ability to pay, then you can go to that end-all, be-all phase, which is Home Affordable Foreclosure Alternative.
So you said that stays the
Yes.
foreclosure. So
Yep.
if someone gets that letter while they've already started the process, but it's in the queue or it's not finished, what happens next? What should they do when if they were to get that letter?
The letter of foreclosure?
Yes.
Well, if you're a Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac backed loan, the law mandates that they have to give you the option to participate in the Home Affordable Program. So they'll get a lawyer's letter, but at some point the lawyer then has to send them, or the lender has to send them a letter that says, you have these options because you have a government-backed loan to participate in a modification program. They have to do that. They have to do that. If it's not one of those loans and they get one of those letters, then it's probably a good idea to contact an attorney.
Right. And you asked what happens if you're in the process and you get the letter. Well, the letter shouldn't have been generated in the first place if you've got the federal-backed loan.
Oh, it shouldn't have been generated anyway.
Right.
Okay. This Home Affordable Modification Program is in effect now. Is there any end in sight, or is it just starting? Do you see that there's
I think,
a closure
if I
date?
remember, the Home Affordable Refinance Program goes through June of this year, unless the federal government decides to extend it. The Home Affordable Mortgage Program is in effect until December, I think, of 2012.
What's the difference again?
One, it applies to Fannie Mae-backed loans, which is the Home Affordable Refinance Program. One applies to non-Fannie Mae-backed loan, which is the HAMP program. So the HAMP program is available until 2012. The HOP program is available until 2010. It's extremely confusing. I'm getting confused myself trying to recite the information. But the website has a very good information page on that.
Among the options available in this modification program, extending the life of the mortgage, reducing the payment, reducing the principal, how do you evaluate what the best option is? How do you get to know what that is?
That's going to depend on your situation. If the equity in your house has come way down and the affordability is not as big an issue, it's an issue, but if you can reduce the principal amount of the mortgage to sort of match the reduction in equity in value of the property, that's going to be your best alternative. If it's strictly an affordability issue and you've been out of work, but you're going to have work at some time in the future and you need a little reprieve, that program's going to work out best for you. If it's an interest rate issue because your interest rate is so high, but you could afford it otherwise, that's the answer. That's the route you're going to want to take.
That sounds like very good advice for someone to consider. So if someone were going to be coming to you as lawyers, would they also be looking to you for such advice as this to help them evaluate it? Or do most people say, I just want a lower payment, do whatever it takes?
Well, I think it would be just like interviewing someone for a loan or, you know, for a financial reason. We would have to look at their income and their expenses. We would have to make a financial analysis. And we're not accountants, we're not mortgage brokers, but certainly on paper, if you're in the red, you're in the red. If you're in the black, you're in the black. You can figure out exactly what you're able to afford. But what we do is we have the clients list expenses that they wouldn't ordinarily list as a fixed expense. Okay, so people just list, well, people will list as a fixed expense heat. They'll forget about telephone for whatever reason. They'll list.
Does internet count these days?
Internet does count, believe it or not, because
cable?
Yeah, is it a mandate? Is it something you have to have? No, but
it's something actually that's sort of become a basic necessity for many people.
For instance, people won't think that co-pays or medical expenses are a fixed expense. They have to consider that because you have to know what's really going out of the monthly check, out of your checkbook.
Right.
So they may think they can afford a lot more than they can.
When it comes to, I mean, these things that you're discussing are somewhat accounting issues. I don't know that you need a CPA to discuss that with you, but when it comes to this HARP and HAMP, do people who are thinking about contacting a lawyer need to have a lawyer who specializes in this kind of issue, or is it something that's broad-based enough that most lawyers would be able to handle it?
It's not something that most lawyers are going to even know about unless they deal with real estate or bankruptcy. They're not going to know about these programs. So you do need to seek out an attorney who practices in that kind of area.
And remember, I just want the viewers to remember that it is available for free through through Rhode Island Housing. Massachusetts has a program as well. You can, certainly go on the internet and just Google a name and you can find the information.
And of course, I did do that with USTreasury.gov, but it was a 16-page document. And while I certainly can read well, that really was quite a bit to cut through. So even though someone could do this online, build the case for why someone should use a lawyer. I mean, it seems fairly easy to do that, but why would you say what could they save themselves in time and money if they were going to use a lawyer who specializes in this?
I'm sure you noticed this on the website, you can actually fill out a form on the website to determine if this is going to be a viable option for you. So they'll give you what they're looking for, they'll give you a list of expenses, so you can actually fill out a form. But I would be looking for the same.
Right, and if you're confident enough that you can read through and go through those forms, just do it. If there's issues you have, maybe before you fill out the form, you could just have a consultation with an attorney. In that consultation, you can determine whether or not you need their services yet. It's really the things that follow the application process and some of the other issues that you've gotten yourself into that you need to consult with the attorney. How close are you to needing to file a bankruptcy? How close are you to foreclosure? Those are some of the issues that you would want to consult with an attorney in general about as you look at the alternative programs you have.
So you're talking about consequences that are larger than just should I or shouldn't I try to refinance?
Yeah.
Right.
How far underwater are they in the home? What other expenses do they have? Do they have medical needs? There are so many different different factors involved.
As you look at these things, how about the fact that your house was worth $500,000 is worth $200,000 now, and you have a $400,000 mortgage? Does it even make sense to try to save that situation? Those are some of the things you need to look at as you try to decide whether to refinance or not.
I mean, that's a financial situation. It's also an ethical one for some people too.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, if you're thinking that if we've seen that more foreclosures are happening now than we would have expected, considering the economy is supposedly turning around right now. If there's a window as such, you talked about the length of time that this could possibly take. Are you 3 months out? Are you 6 months out? Are you 3 weeks out? Can you give me some idea? Can you give us some idea?
I think today they're getting a little bit better with it. Okay. But when it first started, they were overwhelmed. They were completely overwhelmed.
I think that that's good for our listeners, our viewers to know. Hopefully not all of them or not many of them are in that situation, but we hope that this information has been helpful to you. As we say always, please feel free to email us if you do have specific questions, and we will take them. And in our next session, we will talk about the other side of it when you're trying to settle up or settle for housing. RESPA is the new one. Stay tuned.